Hello, what's up YouTube? This is Mr. Harris here. This is going to be just a quick 5-minute recording or so to help you with studying for the final examination. I also hope to make a few more videos down the line, but that's for another day and another time. So, the final exams. You should all have got the 96 terms and 15 concepts. They should look a little something like this. And in reality, it's more like 93 terms. I say this because there's a few overlaps. I accidentally included Herodotus twice. I believe there's one more in there that overlaps. And there's also something called Pollia. If you look right below Narmer and right above Jesus Christ. I have no idea what polio is. That's a mistake. It should not be there. So please disregard that. So it's more along the lines of 93 terms. So these 93 terms, whether it be Zeus or Plato, Mark Antony, deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, the Rosetta Stone. Wait, not that Rosetta Stone. That's one for translation. It's a pretty good application, though. No, I'm talking about the one excavated in 1799. There we go. Yep, the Rosetta Stone, or Jesus and Judas. That's a rather creepy picture. Both very important characters, though. We have the ziggurats by the Sumerians. The fighting formation known as the phalanx. I believe this is the Romans using it, but as we remember from the movie 300, the Spartans used this formation as well. All these terminologies, you have access to all the PowerPoints, the brainscapes, and whatnot. So when it comes to the terminologies, I'm not too worried about people learning about them. I think you can go ahead and make your own flashcards, review sheets, whatever you need. So again, you have access to all the necessary resources. So for these 93 terms, basically do it yourself. I think you got this one. Now, when it comes to the concepts, I think this is what gets people a little bit more nervous. As I mentioned before, there are 3 essay questions based on these 15 concepts. But through this video, hopefully I would make this studying process a little bit more easier for you. So first of all, I want to just get rid of some of the major concepts. Well, not really get rid of them, but I want to tell you in advance that these concepts will be on the test as maybe a multiple choice or a short answer, but they will not be an essay question. They will not be an essay question. So for example, we have the Allegory of the Cave by Plato. That will not be an essay question. We have Hannibal's wonderful elephant army. If you remember that very dangerous, drunk, vicious elephant army, you don't have to worry about them in terms of being an essay. Same goes with the Sumerians. Same goes with the Indus Valley civilization. And same goes with the marathon, the modern event, as well as the Battle of Marathon that took place during the Persian Wars. So that leaves us with roughly about 10 concepts. And if you notice, there's 3 with numbers on them: the rise and power of Alexander the Great, the importance of physical geography, and the difference between a cult and a religion. This is sort of my second set of hints. At least 2 of these 3 will come out as essay questions, so please especially study up on those 3 concepts. And my final point of advice is revolving around point 3, the difference between a cult and a religion, especially because this part is really hard to come across in the textbook, because so much of this section was based on my own work. So if you remember back to religions, we looked at all types of religions from different ages, different times, different sizes, right? Whether it was something as recent as these groups, more like cults, I guess, like Heaven's Gate or People's Temple in the past 30, 40 years, or religions that have been around forever, whether it's Judaism, that's been around for 4,000 years, Christianity, that's been around for over 2,000 years. And, we compared and contrasted, and we saw a lot of similarities. But what I want you to focus on is the differences. And I would say there's 3 major differences. The first is the relationship between the followers and the founder, or the followers and the prophet. So, for example, Christianity, Islam, Judaism. When we look at people like Muhammad, Jesus Christ, none of these people are alive today, right? They're dead. And for the most part, most followers of these religions never really lived side by side with their prophets. To the contrary, when we look at these modern day religious movements, for example, the Church of Latter-day Saints, in its earliest years, the followers of the religion lived side by side with its founder, Joseph Smith. So that's one thing to keep in mind. It's a relationship between the founder and the followers tend to be closer in cults. The second point is sheer size. There's no magical number that differentiates, oh, you got at least 100 million people, you're now a religion, or now, you don't have enough people, you're a cult. With that said, though, it is pretty clear when we look at Islam, for example, 1 billion people, Christianity, over 1 billion people, Buddhism, hundreds of millions of people. When we compare those numbers to, several of the major recent religious movements we've looked at, whether it be Baha'i or Scientology, those groups just don't quite compare when it comes to the amount of size and number of followers it has. Of course, along with the history as well. Although some of these quote-unquote new religions have been around for more than 100 years, it doesn't really compare to Christianity's 2,000 or Hinduism's 4,000 plus years, and so on. And finally, point 3, the final but certainly not least point, is profit motive, profit incentive. Yes, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, all those religions do generate money, and that money is often used towards service or building new buildings and whatnot. But the key thing is those religions, at least on paper, are there to service the community. Right? They're not there to make tons of money. They're not profit-based. They're not profit incentivized, which is why they're not taxed in countries like the United States of America. To the contrary, when we look at some of these newer religious movements, for example, in the Church of Latter-day Saints, it's mandatory to pay 10% of your salary to the church. It's the same thing in Scientology. You have to pay a certain amount of money in order to move up the ranks. So there's clearly more of a profit incentive in these groups that are the more newer religious movements, or what some would say cults. So those would be the 3 main points I would say when we look at the differences. Would be the relationship between the prophet or founder with its followers. Second would be size, and third would be the profit incentive. Finally, now the exams. So the exams themselves are worth 10%, as many of you are aware of. And as I keep emphasizing, that is a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of the pie. It's a very low stake. Don't feel too much pressure about taking it. I mean, I just drew up just a few example scenarios. These are real scenarios, by the way, too. So, for example, we have student A who has a B plus right now, 88%. If this student doesn't do too well in the exam, gets a C plus, the student actually still finishes with a B plus. Here's another example. Let's call him student D. Student D has a 72%, a C minus. This student just did not prepare well, did not study well, bombs the test, gets an F on it, a 52%. That student would still have a 70%, a C minus when the exams are done. So yes, some of you are right on that border, let's say an 89 or 90 or 80, 79. In that case, yes, this final exam grade might be the difference between a B minus and a C plus, or A minus and a B plus, and I get that it's high stakes. But for the most case, for most of you, it's very low stakes. So, don't worry about it too much. I'll see you all when I get back in January. And finally, good luck on the final exams and have a great break. See you around. Bye.